Hi all, my name's Trish Roberts and you're listening to LiveVegan. This is podcast number 14. I wanted to share another essay by Dan Kadehi entitled Banned from the Huffington Post. Interestingly, the Huffington Post banned me from commenting on their site this morning, June 26, 2010, after I signed up last night to post 2 comments in the article entitled Meat or No Meat, Tell Us What You Think and Why. I am reposting my comments here to let readers see what apparently qualifies at HuffPo for, quote, abusive, off-topic, excessive foul language, end quote, or other violations of their comment policy. My first comment was the following: an argument against human chattel slavery. 99.999% of our uses of human slaves are unnecessary by any coherent concept of the word necessary. 99% of our uses of human chattel slaves harm them. Unnecessary harm is morally wrong. Therefore, 99% of our uses of human slaves are morally wrong. The same argument against non-human chattel slavery. 99.999% of our uses of animals are unnecessary by any coherent concept of the word necessary. 99% of our uses of animals harm them. Unnecessary harm is morally wrong. Therefore, 99% of our uses of animals are morally wrong. All of the arguments for animal use can be applied with equal force and cogency to the use of human chattel slaves. When we defend animal use, we necessarily defend human chattel slavery. Human chattel slavery benefited many people greatly throughout human history, but 99.999% of it was not necessary, therefore morally wrong. The exact same argument holds for animal use. Go vegan. To which a user named, quote, Susan Elizabeth 1949, end quote, replied, your straw man argument that equates use of animals with human slavery is based on the idea that animals are equal to humans. I think you discover that few humans will buy into that notion. Most of us find the notion that, quote, a rat is a dog is a boy, end quote, to be utterly preposterous. To which I replied, Susan, there is no straw man fallacy in the argument by analogy, since I am not interpreting or countering a previous argument. In brackets, the straw man fallacy is an attack on a weaker argument that was presented by an opponent, end brackets. Animals are equal to humans in sentience, which is the only characteristic that is relevant to an interest in not being owned as property, enslaved, exploited, harmed, or killed. So for the purposes of the argument above, equating the use of animals with human chattel slavery is valid. Finally, racism and speciesism are both the same wrong of ignoring morally relevant characteristics such as sentience, in favor of morally irrelevant characteristics such as species or race membership. Just as racists find it very difficult to see anything wrong with their racism, speciesists find it very difficult to see anything wrong with their speciesism. But let's face it here, logic and consistency hold no weight when there is personal gain to be had from the status quo. We are repeating history. 200 years ago it was human chattel slavery and racism. Today it is animal use and speciesism. Slaveholders ignored consistency then, as animal exploiters ignore consistency now. These are the only comments I have ever made on HuffPo. Apparently one or both of these comments caused me to be banned from the site without warning. Although the comments are quite direct in comparing speciesism to racism and therefore by implication comparing speciesists to racists, and that might be offensive to people who are not aware of the similarities between the two prejudices, I did explain how they are similar, and the similarity explanation is cogent. Further, the argument I made is highly relevant to the topic. So a claim that the comments were, quote, off-topic, end quote, is false. Perhaps they didn't like the accusation of a lack of clear thinking caused by the perceived opportunity for personal gain. But that is simply another reasonable, and very likely true, point in the argument. I cannot think of how else these comments may have violated HuffPo's comment policy. Therefore, I cannot understand how these comments, taken together or separately, would trigger such a strong reaction as a banning without warning. There is one other possibility. Perhaps I was banned because the combination of the cogency of the arguments set forth in the above comments, with how deeply prejudiced the moderators and average readers are at HuffPo, generated such irrational resentment that they would no longer tolerate the bright light of a cogent and simple argument exposing their ignorance, self-centeredness, and prejudice. In other words, one of the HuffPo's unwritten comment policies is, quote, "If the light is too bright, we shut it off," end quote. One might wonder why I could complain about being banned from commenting on a site when I do not allow comments on this blog. The primary reason I don't allow comments is that I do not have time to moderate and reply to them adequately. Further, this site is an animal advocacy site in an extremely speciesist society, the purpose of which is to publish a perspective on animal ethics that is widely and intentionally censored in the mainstream media. Therefore, if I allow comments, I would moderate the comments to clearly favour the view that animal exploitation should be abolished. I make no apologies for being, quote, one-sided, end quote, for non-human animals in a human-dominated world that is so one-sided and downright bigoted against animals. Back to the comments. If I'm missing anything regarding a legitimate reason for a ban without warning, please send me an email. Thanks for listening. Human society for thousands of years has held a deeply shared speciesist ideology that other animals are here for our use and for our pleasure. Veganism is the way to end the last great slavery. You can help address speciesism and end animal use by becoming an abolitionist vegan and educating others to do so. You'll find that veganism is the single most important form of social activism you'll ever engage in. Be serious about opposing animal use. I would like to also encourage anyone who's listening to subscribe to Professor Francione's blog, abolitionistapproach.com, and get a hold of a copy of one of Professor Francione's many books entitled Animals as Persons. And you can find many essays by Dan Kadehi on his blog site, Unpopular Vegan Essays. That's unpopularveganessays.blogspot.com. Please come and visit us on facebook.com/livevegan for all things abolitionist vegan. And remember, if you're not vegan, go vegan. It's easy, it's better for you and for the planet, and most importantly, it's the morally right thing to do. Till next time, bye for now.